Hey guys, Matt here. Been a while since I've done one of these talk to camera videos. For those of you who don't know, I'm Canadian and I tend to spend my summers in Canada. The rest of the year I live in Switzerland. My wife is Swiss and I've lived in Switzerland 20 years. But in the summers I tend to spend 5-6 months in Canada. And so when it comes to Zwift, I generally only ride it in the winters. I ride from, when it starts to get cold here. So I didn't really start riding indoors till, sort of October. And I'll ride through till maybe February, and then I'll, do some training camps, usually go to Mallorca, sometimes California, and then I'll likely go back to Canada and, be there for the whole summer. So my point is that I only race Zwift, ride Zwift, for the winter, and then I don't come back to it for another 6 months. So, I don't see what's happen on Zwift for 6 months. So I think it's quite a unique perspective because sometimes, you do notice some differences, whether there's been some software updates or different trends, different types of riding or whatever, new types of, like they came in with this climbing portal and, I haven't used it. I can't see why I would use it, but anyway, Zwift is always trying to come up with, new and innovative, I guess, in my eyes, process. I really wish they would just fucking fix the physics, but, I'll do another video on that some other time. But anyway, so one thing that has really, one thing that I really have noticed since I've come back is the prevalence of steering. So that wasn't such a big thing. And then I guess Zwift has now come out with these controllers, these handlebar controllers, which makes steering a lot more accessible and cheap. So a lot of guys are using it, and so I just want to come on the record and say I think it fucking sucks. I think it's stupid. And surprise, surprise, Matt. Hey, I'm Matt. Gonna bitch about Zwift. Yeah, I'm gonna bitch about Zwift. But here's why I think it doesn't work in at least the current implementation. So, and let me also say that I'm not inexperienced with steering on Zwift, because a couple years ago I bought a kicker bike, and that had button controls that you could use for steering, and that was one of the first, I think, things on the market. An expensive $4,000 fucking piece of equipment, but you could actually steer on Zwift. And so what I found when I was using it was, one, it was very hard to control. When you ride on Zwift normally, wheel position, road position is automatic, right? So if you're in the pack, you're always on a wheel. Sometimes you're inside the corner, sometimes you're outside the corner. But you don't have to think about it. When I had the steering on the kicker bike, you had to control all that, and it actually didn't. So basically, it wasn't that easy to get on a wheel, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Particularly when you're almost trying to thread the needle. So say you're going up a climb and you're coming around a corner and there's a guy just directly in front of you. You sort of steer to get on his wheel, and then he moves a bit, or somebody else comes up behind him, and in the Swift dynamics, that often pushes the guy you're on to the side, and now you're no longer on his wheel, so then you got to move the controller again. So I just found it very finicky and not very intuitive, or it took me out of the game. I just didn't feel like it was the same as when I'd be riding outside, where following a wheel is the most natural thing in the world. So I didn't get a great experience from it. That kicker bike was also a piece of shit. Didn't fucking work. The electronic shifting, kept failing. I had to get replacement handlebars a million times. That didn't seem to fix the problem. Eventually I just sent it back. Said, take this fucking piece of shit, fucking stick it. So I just went back to a regular smart trainer, and I'll never go back to a specific dedicated indoor bicycle. I mean, yeah, the cost was, I don't even remember what the fuck I was thinking at the time, but it was I think I like the incline idea, but none of that feels like outside, and you've got to accept that indoor riding is significantly different from outdoor riding, and it is what it is. And so, a lot of those features don't really add to the realism of the game. Okay, so enough said on that. So anyway, coming back to steering, so there's a couple reasons why I think it's not well thought out, and I think, like I've already alluded to, the first one is the drafting aspect. So, and this speaks to both the game dynamics, the way Zwift has implemented steering, and then also the way people use it. So, for instance, you are in a Zwift race, and say there's been an attack, you got dropped with some other guys, and you are trying to get back on, and somebody with steering decides to, instead of letting you get on the draft, they're intentionally going on a line, say an inside line around a corner, to reduce the radius of the corner, which, is logical, except for the fact that my guy is staying in the middle of the road. I'm no longer on his draft. And so what's happened there? Well, one, I am not getting his draft, so I'm not saving energy. So therefore, when it's time to come around him to try and work to get back onto the guys that have dropped us, he's completely destroyed the whole principle of cycle racing and drafting, right? So I should be saving energy on his wheel. So by saving energy, I have more energy to give when I take a pull. By the fact he's gone inside, I can't get his draft. And so he's completely sabotaged our chase, right? Knowingly or unknowingly, because, as I've said many times, most people on Zwift they don't think about this stuff, and, they're doing it for reasons that, aren't tactical or strategic or make any fucking sense from a bike racing perspective. But there it is, right? So that in itself is counterproductive to race dynamics, right? So if he didn't have steering, I would automatically get on his wheel, and I'd be able to get his draft, and I'd be able to take a pull after. Okay, so that's reason one, The second reason is I just don't think it reflects anything like it would be in outside dynamics, and, which is, again, overstating the case, because, I've already said before that Zwift is not the same as outdoors, but it should be approximation of cycle racing. My point is, when the guy goes inside and I can't get on his wheel, I think Zwift should automate the drafting like they do in the cases when people don't have steering. Because in the real world, if a guy changes his line, I'm just gonna fucking steer and get on his fucking wheel. But in Zwift, I can't do that. I'm in the middle of the road and he's on the fucking left hand of the road. I'm not in his draft. And I can't get in his draft unless I go by steering, right? Which, will bring me to, my final point. So that doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever. It's fucking stupid, right? If Zwift is going to make my avatar automatically draft non-steering players, then logically it follows that my guy should draft steering players, right? Right? Okay. So point 3 is, I think steering offers an unfair advantage to guys that don't have steering. Right? Of course it does. But is that fair? I don't think it is, right? So I had a race a couple weeks ago. We're going over, I think it goes over the reverse calm, the old school calm. It's, whatever, it's a 1.5 minute climb. I had to bridge to 2 guys that were already off the front, and just as I got to their wheel, both of them had steering. And what did they both do? They went, and I'm over here. So I just got on their wheel, and they went, and then attacked. Now, tactically, I probably would have done the same thing. It was playing to the advantages of the dynamics of what was available to all of us. I didn't have steering. I couldn't get on their wheel. They used that to their advantage, attacked, and won the race, and and I bitched about it. and my point is, because I didn't have steering, I was at a disadvantage. So that is something that I think, I guess, is intentional. I'm not sure. The majority of people still on Zwift don't have steering. And so this leads me to my final point, which is that this is going to be a race to the bottom, that everybody will now have to buy steering if they want to be on a level playing field when it comes to Zwift racing. And so that is kind of annoying because, like I said, I don't particularly like steering, but now after these few experiences I've had where people have used it tactically and dropped me, I'm gonna have to go out and buy it now, which I don't want to do because like I said, I've had steering before. All it made me do was have to think about, not positioning, not tactically, but the majority of the time I'm like, oh, that guy's over there and I gotta move, 2 centimeters to the right to get on his wheel. Oh, now Zwift has dynamically moved him 2 centimeters left and now I've got to press the button and move it. It doesn't sound that big a deal, but in the context of doing that for 2-3 hours of left and right, left and right, left and right, again, it's not like a video game. Doing that stuff is not fun. It's annoying, right? It's annoying. And I still think, like I said, I just don't think it brings me out of the game, right? Because I'm concentrating on lining up dots, right? I'm not leaning my bike over. I'm not steering, right? It's totally a different thing. So anyway, back to my point is because now this tool has been shown to be given an advantage to people who have it versus people who don't have it. Anyone who's serious about Zwift racing, and if you're serious about Zwift racing, I feel your pain, but also get a fucking life, right? Like, who gives a shit? But anyway, a lot of people do give shit, and I race a lot in Zwift, so apparently I must give a shit, which, yeah. Sorry, but yeah, so it's forcing all of us now to go out and buy this equipment. It's not super expensive, I know, but it's like I said, it's not the fact that I have to buy more equipment to ride on Zwift. It's the fact that I just don't think the dynamics are good. I just don't enjoy the experience of steering. I don't like the way people use it because they use it. Sometimes they're to their own detriment because people are stupid and they don't really know how to bike race, which is another thing that I find. Zwift is Zwift doesn't teach good tactics, right? So anyway, but I could do another video on that, I guess. But yeah, I don't believe that it's been well thought out as far as how pack dynamics should actually work. If somebody is taking the inside line, and I don't have steering, and I'm on his, and it's me and him, shouldn't Zwift just also put me on the inside line? I guess they don't, because that would make steering redundant and it's a product that they can no longer sell. But I just wonder if they've done this because so much of things that seem to happen on Zwift seem to happen haphazardly, and I don't know if they've thought this through. I don't know if they've thought through the fact that because people can no longer get on the wheel, it breaks the regular Zwift dynamics, because when the person doesn't have steering, Zwift does get me on their wheel. And should Zwift work differently depending on which type of rider you're drafting? That doesn't quite make sense, does it? That doesn't sound logical. So either they've done it intentionally, but I doubt they have. I think they've done it unintentionally. They're just giving people steering. Well, steering that works like this, you steer. People that don't have steering don't get on your wheel. And as consequence, now they're going to sell more product because of this, which I think is a bug. But they're going to sell more product because guys like me, I'm going to go buy it because I was frustrated because it didn't fucking get on the guy's wheel and I couldn't get it in his draft and he fucking, counterattacked me and, won. And, I'm going to bitch about it, moan about it, but I'm telling you, in the real world, I would have got on his fucking wheel. And if I was playing against an opponent who didn't have steering, I would have got on his wheel, right? So you see my point, right? So the fact that the guy has steering means that Zwift physics and dynamics work differently than a guy who doesn't have steering. And that seems weird, right? Because then you've got two sets of riders that have different behaviors within the game. I think I would call that a cheat, right? Kinda, right? So yeah, so that's why I hate steering, and that's why I'm gonna buy steering, right? So yeah, so let me know your thoughts on this. I mean, like I said, at the moment it's not. There's significantly more guys with steering than there was a year ago. I don't know if it's going to reach a critical mass where all of a sudden, like I said, you feel at a disadvantage without it, so you got to get it. I don't know if there'll be blowback on this because, like I said, when I had steering, I really didn't like it. I just felt like I was pushing buttons all day trying to line up little avatars. That totally takes me out of the game. I like to do Zwift, and I do Zwift because it mentally engages me so that I feel like I'm riding a bicycle outside, right? I don't want to have to take myself out of that and take myself out of the this virtual immersion. And that's what steering does. It takes me out of that because I'm constantly trying to fucking get on the guy's wheel, right? So, yeah, so let me know what you think. I mean, if you agree, disagree. I personally don't give a fuck if you disagree because, I'm right. But yeah, no, I mean, I see the way of this. I see this going in a direction where we're all going to have to get steering and fucking deal with it. So I think Zwift racing will be quite different after that. And I'm curious, I haven't really checked, but I wonder if, guys in the pro Zwift leagues are using steering, and is it allowed? And if it is, is everybody using it? Because, like I said, you notice very quickly, just the fact that guys can take the inside line. I mean, they're saving, like on a sprint, you can save two meters. I mean, 2 meters is fucking huge in sprinting, right? So, I wouldn't be surprised if everybody there now has it. I mean, I've watched a couple Zwift races the last little while, like elite Zwift races. I don't recall everybody having it, which, based on, what I've just talked about in this video is kind of surprising. So I expect them all to take it up. So Zwift steering, yay or nay? Nay. Okay, so thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.